Do you guys ever make a promise to yourself and not keep it? Because I think that's really crappy if you don't keep your promises to yourself.
Okay.
What? I see laughing, so that means must mean yes, Tracy, we always keep our promises to ourselves. Do you guys have non-negotiables? Things that you tell yourself and you stay within that box, that boundary, and you keep that promise, you commit to it.
So I have some, but I'm not, there are still promises I say I'm going to keep and I don't. And so there's two sides to this coin. So I have a non-negotiable of, okay, we'll be very blunt here. I can get caught up in a scroll on this thing when I've gone to bed for hours,
Oh, Michelle.
hours. So my non-negotiable of this little freaking thing, it's set behind me at 8 p.m. every night. And it is not in my room. And I do not look at it until after Miss Mona has gone out and been fed, which is usually around 6 to 6:15 in the morning. That is that's like one of my very first like stringent non-negotiables. And how that came to be was in the height of my anxiety. The scrolling was, oh, look at, I'd be on social media. Oh, look at that house. My house doesn't look like that. Oh, look at her. I can't get that skinny. Well, look at her hair. How come her hair? We have curly hair. How come I can't get my hair that curly? Like it was like to the point of the height of my anxiety. So now, even when I travel, the phone is in the hotel room. It's like, oh crap, what am I going to do? That I have to go take it and put it in the bathroom, like away from me, because so I don't break my non-negotiable. So that is like a severe non-negotiable. Do I break promises to myself? Absolutely. And then I sit, the mindset freaking person I am, pen to paper, and ask myself, why did you break it? Wasn't that important then?
But wasn't your non-negotiable a promise to yourself that I'm not going to do this every night, and so I'm going to find a different way. So that's my non-negotiable. So you do make promises to yourself that you keep.
I do, but I can't. I said I maybe didn't misunderstood. Are there promises that I make to myself that I don't keep? Yes. So that one there I've kept, but there are other ones that I've made that I haven't kept. And then I have to get into again, why is it not? Why isn't? And so then it could be something that I find my reason for keeping the promise was stupid. Like, Michelle, no, you can't. Like, that's unsustainable, that thought process. Or it was, no, you are worth it. You have to keep that promise. So that's myself. I don't know. Tracy E.
Yeah, it's interesting. As I was listening to you, there are things that are I've made a promise to myself that's non-negotiable. And really for me, what that means is I don't negotiate the decision to follow through. That's sort of what that non-negotiable is. It's not like a hard, this is never happening again. Like I'm never looking at my phone after 8.
No,
To
right.
me, that's a different kind of decision. But
Yeah.
there's always that, okay, I'm going to, you know, I'm gonna not eat until like, noon every day. And then I negotiate that decision. Well, I'm kind of hungry. I sort of, oh, but it won't matter if I do it today. And oh, I can start that tomorrow. And oh, I'm really, really hungry. And why is my husband cooking toast? For God's sakes, I want a piece of toast, like then I negotiate that, right? Or the alarm clock goes off in the morning and I'm like, oh, do I really want to get up? What if I just hit the snooze button for just once? I'll just hit the snooze button once. That gives me another 9 minutes. Snooze, right? There's those decisions that I negotiate. And it's really interesting because they bother me. They bother me that I do that. And I will often ask myself if why am I setting an alarm if I'm going to hit the snooze button? What's that about? Right?
Right.
Like, don't do that then. Just get up naturally whenever you decide that you're going to get up and start your day. But if you're setting an alarm, it's because you want to be up at a certain time, and now you're negotiating that with yourself first thing in the morning because you're, under the covers, it's warm, it's cozy, you're sleepy, all of those reasons. And I find that I will do that when I haven't made that commitment, that draw the line in the sand. This is never going to happen again. I'm never going to hit my snooze button again. It's not an option.
Mhm.
Like if I made that decision, it would become a non-negotiable.
Right.
So it's interesting. It's literally the language I use with myself that determines whether I follow through or I don't follow through.
That's interesting, eh?
It is, and that's
how
just
you talk to yourself, right?
yeah, and that's an aha right in this moment. It's
Yeah.
like, wow, I that's exactly what's going on here for
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
when you're decided that it is a non-negotiable, it is a non-negotiable. But
Exactly.
You give some
Right.
leeway, you give a little leeway, so
There's like,
Yeah.
we can talk ourselves out of that one. Don't worry about it. I can come up with a good excuse to hit that snooze button because we haven't made it a non-negotiable.
why am I being so hard on myself? Come on.
What
Yeah.
about you, Tracy G?
Yeah, I have a couple of non-negotiables about certain things personally, like values wise, like that I have. I did break a promise to myself, and it was so stupid. My daughter gives me this game, and she goes, "Oh, you should try this, Mom." And I totally got addicted to this little game, and I said, "Enough! Like I am wasting my." And it was over the holidays, so I kind of, negotiated with myself and said, "It's okay, it's lazy time." And I was like, I said, "You're done," and I broke my promise. Just like, oh my God, because I couldn't believe some stupid little thing could hook me. But I broke that. So I broke that habit or whatever you want to call it. But I was committed. Like I'm not going to do this, and I couldn't do it. It took me like at least probably like a day and a half to go. No, you're really done. But other than that, I keep my promises and my non-negotiables. And it's just like being a good person, like
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
like
yes.
really going like there's certain things in my household where I go, if this is happening, walk away from the computer and actually engage, because I tend to like to be on the computer, and so I might go, oh yeah, I'll talk to them later. And instead I have non-negotiables, but no, if my family is doing stuff, you're engaged in it and things like that.
I love
Yeah.
that. So for the audience, viewer, you can see the previous episode when we talk about I'll do it later or I'll do it when. And I'd love, Tracy G, that you brought that up because I never even thought of it that way. I think also how the three of us think of non-negotiables have a different format of them,
Mhm.
where Tracy G, you were saying about your values. Well, I don't think of that as a non-negotiable. I just take that as, is it my part of my identity? That's part of who I am.
Mhm.
So I never thought of it as a non-negotiable. I just like, nope, this is This is the value I want to bring, and this is the value I want people to respect me for. You know, I guess I looked at it more in the boundary aspect, but I love that twist on it. You know,
Yeah, I do too. I wouldn't have thought of my values as not as non-negotiables,
yeah,
although they are. I mean, when
hmm
you think of it, it's like, yeah, no, that is a non-negotiable. Like I'm not going to,
right,
I'm not going to break that I'm not going to
right,
become something different. And,
Right.
yeah, I've always kind of looked at the non-negotiables as, well, just like like things that you say that you're going to do, and then like I'm not going to hit the snooze button
right,
but it
Yeah.
is so
Yeah.
interesting, that whole language aspect
Mhm.
of
right.
things. Yeah.
So, do you set up non-negotiables also on things you will not tolerate or will not like do?
What do you mean? Can you give us an example?
Yeah, so I have a non-negotiable that I will not, how do I want to say this? Probably uh, and I take it as a non-negotiable, but think about it as I will not tolerate somebody disrespecting me. That's a behavior that is like non-negotiable. Like that's what I'm talking about. Like, are there certain things that are non-negotiable? I will not get in if I don't care where I am, if I'm unsafe, then I leave party. I think it's kind of hard. So I think we think about I have my non-negotiables about my phone. You know, I will not use it after this certain time and whatever. But I think we also forget about a non-negotiable. We look at it as, how do I want to say this? As, okay, people will think about, I have my non-negotiables on the type of person I'll date. Okay, let's just take that. Or the kind of job or the company I'll work for. These are the
Mhm.
non-negotiables. This is what I want in my career, in my relationship, in the person that I want to spend the rest of my life with. But sometimes I think we look at only what the good part of it. And so if you get in the habit of check marking, like, yep, I have that, that, and that. But yeah, did you decide what you don't want in a relationship, what you don't want in
Mm.
a job? I think we sometimes get caught up in what we want and we forget about what we don't want. And so you might find the job of what you want, and you might find the relationship of what you want, but there could be something that that person still does that's really high up here that you don't like, and you're like kind of caught between. So, oh, they checked everything on this list,
Mm.
but I'm still dissatisfied. I'm still not in the job I want. I'm still not in the career because you didn't understand what you didn't like. And it could be nothing. There could be nothing. It could be something minor that it's like, nope, this trumps that. But if we don't have that thought process behind it, like if we don't think about it, how are we going to know what we don't want?
See, that's funny because I've never thought of a non-negotiable as a positive only. I've always thought of a non-negotiable as an all-encompassing of this is non-negotiable regardless. So when you say about a relationship, part of the non-negotiable was that you disrespect me or you don't listen to me. That would just be part of my non-negotiable.
Yeah, I think because when I was having a conversation with somebody, it had to do with the person had to be faithful. So I said, well, do you understand what that means? What is your definition of that? So maybe that's what I wanted that person to get to have a clearer understanding. So is faithful mean that person can never have a conversation with another woman? Does that mean that person can't flirt? Does that mean that person can't have coffee with another woman? You see what I'm saying? Like,
Mm.
if your non-negotiable is, I want a person that is faithful to me, okay? what is that definition to you?
Yeah.
You look confused,
I
Tracy
don't,
J.
no,
Oh, I'm
I
not
just,
confused.
I'm
No,
just
I'm
thinking,
listening.
Okay.
I
Okay.
just, I also think that people don't think of things like that. I think
No.
there is an intrinsic, it goes back to, I think, more about your value and your self-worth, about what, certainly in relation, what you will and will not tolerate from someone, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times we don't know what that is until we're faced with that in real life. Like, we
True.
don't even know that that could possibly be something that could happen. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, if you don't have the experience and you
Right.
don't know anybody else who has the experience, then it's pretty hard to form in your mind, I don't want this experience to take place, because you don't know about it. If
True.
that makes sense, right?
Yes.
So like for me, non-negotiables has always kind of really meant more of a habits or behaviors that I would either like to improve or I would like to get rid of in my life, not so much the values or the relationship aspect of my friendships and things like that. Again, that to me is more moral value and identity driven than
I'm not quite.
habits.
Yeah. Uh-uh.
So if a
I know.
friend's being not so nice to me consistently, my non-negotiable to myself, or my promise to myself, is I expect to be treated as wonderfully. Oh, what am I doing?
You're giving yourself a thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Well done.
Oh my God.
And I agree with you.
Stop it. I expect to be, oh, I got to keep my thumbs down. I expect to be treated the same way. And if you don't treat me that way, then that's a non-negotiable. And I most likely will not continue the friendship, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah, right. But there would be like, and that to me is really about your self-worth as a person and what you value as at value within a friendship and within a relationship, as opposed to me just hitting the snooze button. You know what I mean? It's like, to me, for me personally, non-negotiables has always been about habits, or things that I have wanted
Yeah.
to change, as opposed to that, like what you just described, Tracy.
that's funny. No, because non-negotiables are different. I look at them
Yeah.
quite differently, and they're just
Yeah.
things in my life that I go yes or no. And there's not a lot of them, but there's the biggies, and that's what I look at the non-negotiables. Because I guess it does go into my value and self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
And
Like
I
to me,
think,
there's those biggies as well, right? Like,
yeah.
you're not going to, I'm not going to be mistreated or things like that. But it's like, that's not about a non-negotiable. It's not something that you would even negotiate in the first place.
Well, it is to me, because I think
Yeah.
I can say that I'm not going to let anyone disrespect me. But unless I really figure out what disrespecting me is and understand it,
Yeah.
that's when I turn around and go, oh no, you're disrespecting me, because I've put some thought into it. And I think that goes what you were saying, Michelle, when you go, are you just looking at the positive or negative?
Right.
But by
Yeah.
claiming it, because I think a lot of us go, no, I'm not going to be disrespected. No, I'm not going to be, I'm all this stuff, but you're just saying it. I feel that the non-negotiable is that you've actually put some time in to go, no, I'm not taking that crap. Whatever.
And that's what I mean by the whole experiential aspect of that, right? Like, until you are going through that, right? I don't know if we ever sit down, like you're saying, Michelle, and go, okay, this is what faithful means. This is what disrespect means to me. And these are the boundaries that I'm going to create for myself. Like, a lot of times we don't even realize we need the boundary until we are in an experienced situation, or know of somebody, or we haven't been taught that through just our upbringings and things like that, right? It's it becomes very cultural at that point as well as to what is acceptable and what is not acceptable for, you know, for us, right? It's like that is taught.
Yes, I can see that, but like, it's hard to. I just get worried that all your non-negotiables. I think when I see things like my non-negotiable about my phone is one thing. I
Mhm.
have non-negotiables, or as you call it, Tracy E, values. Like this is, or we can call them boundaries even.
Yeah,
But, boundaries are almost just like, to me,
super
a
healthy.
non-negotiable.
Yeah.
You can still have boundaries. And you're right, you don't know you need to put that boundary in place until something has gone wrong, most likely.
It might,
Like,
yeah, it's not like, I mean, they're like, excuse, getting rid of the biggies that we would all be
yeah,
thinking about, right? Like,
right,
then you're right. It's like, until you're in that, like you were just saying, Tracy, like you're in a relationship with somebody, you're having, your girlfriend or whatever, and all of a sudden they start treating you in a way that you then go, wait a minute, like this doesn't feel too good. Right? It's not like that's like a brand new kind of experience that you are being put in that moment to go, wait, this falls under the category of disrespect, and this is not going to happen for me. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
yeah. But do you think also that in order to understand whether you have to put a non-negotiable in place or set a boundary or whatever we're calling it, because we called it a couple different things, you need to get in touch with your feelings and your emotions?
Hmm. About
I
5 years
think.
ago, I wrote out my non-negotiables. So I would say, yes, you need to get in touch with your feelings. I wrote not a life plan, but like, hey, look where you are now. What are some things that you want to make sure do happen in your life? And what are some of the things you want to make sure don't happen in your life? And that's where I get my non-negotiables.
Mm,
And so that's why I say about breaking a promise. I have written them down. I do look at them and go, that doesn't fall within, because this is where you want to get to in your life. And so these non-negotiables are going to help you get there, regardless of what they are. Because I've chosen them. So yes, I would say emotion plays into it.
And you just said these are what I want in my life and what I don't want in my
Yeah.
life. So
mhm.
there is the positive and
Yeah.
the negative, if
Yeah.
you want to look at it that way. So I think sometimes we just have to make sure. I just get nervous when someone says, I think it's because when I was having this conversation with this person, she was just talking about what she wanted in a relationship.
Mhm.
And I was cautioning that person on, well, don't just look at the good part. Don't just look at the good part.
Yeah, I totally agree. You have to know what you don't want
Right. So that's what I was like
in order,
saying it
yeah,
a
in
roundabout way.
order, yeah, because I think to articulate what you truly do want, it is really important to identify and not to generalize, right? Like
No,
not to generalize
Mhm.
about things of what I don't want, like it's like saying to somebody, I don't want to be broke. Well, what does that mean?
right,
What's broke, right?
Right.
Like everybody would have a different, you know, idea of what that actually means. And you need to have that clarified in your mind. And I think sometimes, like when we are doing goal setting or going after something in our life, we don't articulate it clearly enough so we actually know where that destination is, where we're actually headed. There's kind of this pathway that we think we're going on, but we haven't clearly identified that pivotal moment of, yes, I know I'm going to accomplish this or have this because this is what this means. And this is how I can measure it. This is how
right,
I can see that it's taken place.
right, right. I think it's I think non-negotiables, promises, values, they're all healthy for us. I
Mhm,
think it's boundaries.
mhm.
I think all of them are, you know, I think of my children often when I was a single mom and my boys would ask me for something, whatever. And at the end, you know, that infamous, I'll think about it. And they would always stop and turn and say, do you promise? Or ask me to do something and they would say, do you promise? And if I couldn't promise it, I wouldn't say yes. So
Right.
they knew if I said, yes, I promise, they knew, okay, she's like, it's happening. This is going to happen. Um, and I don't think I ever broke one of those promises. But yeah, if you ask me to make that promise to myself, where's that? Where's,
Mhm.
am I, do I feel worthy enough to keep that exact same thought
Mhm.
process to myself that I didn't want to hurt my boys, disappoint my boys, have them think they weren't valued because I broke that promise. But we don't give ourselves that exact same thought process.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we don't. We don't. It's easier to disappoint self
Yeah.
than it
Yeah.
is to disappoint somebody else.
Yeah.
That's a hard one to, that's almost like a non-negotiable. I don't want to disappoint anybody. I really
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah,
Certainly not on purpose. I mean,
Yeah.
I might disappoint people, but it's not because I'm aware of what's
Yeah.
taking place. But it is easy to disappoint myself and hit the
yeah,
snooze button, for example, or not go to the gym, or not follow through on something that I said I was going to do. It's easy to let that one slide under the carpet because it's just me. It's just me.
yeah. So
Just me. Just me.
that's yeah,
But that's what we
just
do
me.
though, right? That's
Yep,
what
No,
exactly what we
yeah.
do. And so we end up, and every time we do that, we chip away at our own self-worth and our own value. We chip away at it until we just keep knocking little bits of it off, which is why it's so important from a confidence standpoint that if you'd say you're going to do something, when you actually do it, you are depositing such huge amounts into the confidence bucket and such huge amounts into your self-worth. Like you have no idea what you're doing for yourself and the ripple effect that has on everybody else. And I think sometimes if we were to think about that, how is this going to improve my relationships, my everything, how I show up in business, how I do all of this stuff when I keep these little small promises to myself, it would be way easier to keep the small promises to yourself. But
yep,
we go small and we go, oh, it's just mine. It's just me. I'm
yeah,
just disappointing me. It's no big deal. It's no big
yep,
deal.
But one
yeah,
of the things you have to do is you actually have to look and see what your non-negotiables are in order to
yeah.
understand whether or not you're making your promises. And I don't know
Yeah.
how many people actually do that. Like they kind of look at their life and go, what will I tolerate? What won't I? What
I
promises
don't think,
are making
I
to
think as
myself?
both of you have said, I don't think they do until something has
Mhm.
happened,
Mhm.
you know? And that's something I think we should, you're entitled to do. You are entitled at the end of the year instead of making a resolution. What's my non-negotiables for 2024? What is like, or whatever. What's my non-negotiable for January? What's my non-negotiable for this week? What's my non-negotiable for today?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you can have the
Make it
minute
today.
little, yeah, you can have the non-negotiable of today. I'm eliminating one can of soda and replacing it with water for today. Today only. That's it. That's a non-negotiable. Like we sometimes make these things so huge and
Mm.
so overwhelming that we don't know, they just become too much.
We negotiate with them. That's the problem.
Yeah,
We actually
yeah,
negotiate with the decision to make it,
yes,
is it non-negotiable? Non-negotiable? Maybe
right.
today it's non-negotiable. I don't think I can do this forever in my whole life, so maybe tomorrow it will be negotiable, right? It's like, yeah, it's totally how you think about it that makes a big difference.
So I'm going to freak both of you out. You're going to laugh at me. And I know you are. Both of you are. So before I talked to you guys, I had to talk to my trainer. And I had to give her another goal because I'm training to pace someone in an upcoming race. But to me, that was mundane. And I wasn't out of my comfort zone. I wasn't like that non-negotiable didn't excite me.
Mm.
It didn't give me. So there is something I can't do. I cannot do a push-up for the life of me. I can't do it. She has me do all this other stuff, but it's not something that's in the running format. So I made a promise to myself that I was going to add one push-up on a day. So today I have to do 15 push-ups. Tomorrow it's 16. Then come January, I have end of February, like February 1st, it's 32. So by the end of the year, I'm doing all these push-ups. But I wouldn't tell her. I wouldn't have the conversation with her. I was making that little promise to myself, and I didn't put it anywhere. I didn't write it down. I didn't. It was up here, right here, right here. So I can negotiate with myself at any point and change it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can't anymore because I told her about it, and it's not part of my plan. But I think that's something else too. When you set the non-negotiables, write them, like you said, write them, put them somewhere where you can see them. And even put down, I think it's important to put why it's a non-negotiable or why it's a promise. Like you said, Tracy, you have Tracy G, you wrote down these promises, and then you look at other things and you're like, no, that non-negotiable doesn't go back to this. This is my main thing. That doesn't like go back to that. So it's you need to not only think about it, understand it, but you should write it down. And if there's somebody involved for me, there was that person. So I had that conversation on
And
that.
that's like an accountability factor, right? It's like, oh,
Right.
somebody else now knows about this decision that I've made. And I mean, maybe they don't say anything at all, but it's the fact that somebody else knows and they could say, so like, are you up to like 60 push-ups a day? Is that what you're at now? And
Yeah.
then having to, say, yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
like you, Tracy, the fact that you've written down, your 5-year goals or whatever, and that you look at them on a regular basis. Like that's the other thing. We write this stuff down and then it goes in a drawer someplace and like nobody ever looks at it. And you come across it 6 years later and you're like, oh yeah, I remember writing this stuff. I should have looked at it maybe a few times.
Is that like the teacups?
Like the teacups.
Like the
Exactly,
teacups.
the teacups.
Teacups. Okay. So non-negotiables are a gift, not a curse. Non-negotiables are about self-love, not selfishness. Non-negotiables can boost your self-esteem, but they cannot destroy your self-worth. Non-negotiables are a stepping stool to success, not a fear booster. Non-negotiables will increase your confidence, not destroy your mission. So implement those non-negotiables. You are worth it.
Nice.
On that note, please let us know if you've ever set a non-negotiable, a boundary, a promise to yourself, and how did you do with it? Is there something we can help you with? Share this with somebody that you think might benefit for this. Don't make sure to like if you really like this, and hit that subscribe button and notifications. Every Wednesday, a new episode comes out.
Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you as a regular member of our community.